Hi there, I'm the Wildcard, and today I'm here to talk to you about the Equestria Girls Specials.
Equestria Girls.
You see, after Legend of Everfree, it's speculated that Hasbro tried to get an Equestria Girls series off the ground as a full-fledged spin-off series, and that's where the first set of specials comes into play. 3 22-minute length episodes of a miniseries titled Tales of Canterlot High were released in 2017, not long after the release of Legend of Everfree. It didn't exactly take off, but that's where we're going to start with the first special, or episode I guess. They're not really long enough to be specials. Dance Magic. Dance Magic actually picks up not that long after the events of Legend of Everfree, as the girls are running a car wash to raise money to help fund the repairs for Camp Everfree. Problem is, they've only raised about half the money they need with only a week left, and they've already exhausted pretty much all their fundraising options. They've already done dog walking services, bake sales, and now a car wash. But Rarity says to fear not, because she has a great idea to get all the money they need. In reality, she's got nothing. So she goes to the mall looking for inspiration, where she sees a video for a competition in which you just gotta make a dance video and original song, and you can win a cash prize. And said cash prize is more than double what they need to fix Camp Everfree. Seems like a win-win, but of course there's a catch. As Rarity's filling out her application for the competition, she runs into the Shadow Bolts from Crystal Prep, from Friendship Games, the good movie, as they're also signing up for the competition so they can use the prize money so they can host their school prom on a yacht. Yeah, that's exactly what prep girls would do. The only hitch in Rarity's plan is that in order to enter the competition, she'd have to use some of the money they've already raised for the entry fee. Rarity fills in the other girls on the plan, and they reluctantly agree, and their first rehearsal goes about as well as you'd expect for one of these specials. Rarity goes back to the mall and she notices the Crystal Prep Shadow Bolts over there practicing for their entry, and notices that they jacked her whole idea for the Rainbooms video. I mean, they're not good people. I don't know what she was expecting. There was a whole movie about how they were assholes. Rarity loses her confidence, but after a nice powwow with the girlies, man, I really do sound like a fucking dumbass sometimes, don't I? With Rarity's confidence restored, she and Twilight sneak into Crystal Prep to go confront the Shadow Bolts and tell them to change their video concept and do something original, which, of course, they refuse, because they're jerks. Again, whole movie where they're nothing but jerks. Just saying. So, now the girls are really down on their luck. They've got no video and no money. But our main 7 put their heads together, literally, to come up with a brand new concept for a video. Each of the girls have their own unique concepts, but none of them are good ideas for a dance video. So, Rarity storms off, being super upset, and goes to drown her sorrows in ice cream. Where it just so happens that the Shadow Bolts are sitting not that far away from her, complaining about the fact that despite having a great video idea and dance moves, that they lack an original song. So Rarity approaches the group of girls with a trade offer. You get an original song written by us, we get your choreography skills, and together we win the competition and split the prize money because it's enough to fix Camp Everfree and pay for Crystal Prep's yacht prom. The Shadow Bolts agree, and the two groups come together to shoot a video set to the original song, Dance Magic. And it's a pretty good song, but the part that killed me is when Pinkie Pie started rapping.
No matter what style you got, just keep dancing on that spot.
Go, white girl, go! I mean, I know she's pink, but you know what I mean. So, the newly formed Crystal Rainbooms win the competition, and all's well that ends well. I gotta say, it's really nice to see these characters in more mundane situations. I mean, it's still a magical girl show, but it's just nice to see them in more everyday situations after 4 movies of, fate of the world, big magical monster fight type deal, The continuity is on point as well, showing that the Shadow Bullets actually did have some growth from Friendship games, and also the nice continuity of saying, Camp Everfree still needs help with the repairs. All in all, Dance Magic is a great start to this little mini-series, and it leads right into the second episode, Movie Magic. Movie Magic starts off with our main 7 getting invited to the set of the new Daring Do movie as thanks for saving Camp Everfree, since the director himself is a camp alumni. Each of the girls have their own sites they want to see on the movie set and split up to go see them. Rarity and Fluttershy go off to try to meet the lead actress playing Daring Do, Chestnut Magnifico, to see if she can sign Fluttershy's wildlife preservation petition, but she doesn't really seem to be in the mood to give out autographs right now. Applejack and Sunset Shimmer go off to take a closer look at the sets, where they find a mysterious candy bar wrapper that Sunset for some reason stuffs in her jacket pocket. You could just throw that in the garbage. I would. Spike and Pinkie Pie go off to find a cupcake fountain. I don't even know how that would work, but whatever, magic. And Twilight and Rainbow Dash go off to look at the special props that were approved by A.K. Yearling herself. She's the author of Daring Do, by the way, and in the Pony universe, she is Daring Do. While looking at the props, Twilight and Dash run into Juniper Montage, the director's niece, who says that 1, she knows the lot like the back of her hand, and 2, that she's a little mad at her uncle because she wanted to be cast as Daring Do. Really weird and personal thing to say to someone you just met, but okay. Meanwhile, Pinkie and Spike witness Chestnut Magnifico giving the director a hard time, saying that she wants off this project and they're running out of time. I mean, the project is also over scope and over schedule, but that's Hollywood for you. To top it all off, the volcano set collapses during a scene, and the relics that were approved specifically by A.K. Yearling have been stolen. The girls put their heads together and try to think of who would want to steal the relics. And, well, Rarity and Fluttershy point out that Chestnut Magnifico seems pretty unhappy being on the project, and maybe she stole the relics so the movie would be canceled and she can get out of her contract. And the wrapper that Sunset and AJ found on the volcano set earlier is one of Chestnut Magnifico's favorite chocolate bars, so the evidence so far points to Chestnut being our culprit. But just before they could confirm that Chestnut is their gal, they notice a mysterious figure sneaking around the sets, and they give chase. But they lose sight of the figure, who seems to really know their way around the film sets. But before the girls can fan out and keep looking for the culprit, they get swept away by a stagehand and put into Power Ponies costumes. That is a really deep Season 4 reference. That's like a random episode from Season 4. Also, I think it's really funny that because there were only 6 Power Ponies, they dress Sunset up as the main Yak, which is actually like their arch enemy. They see the hooded figure once again and give chase across multiple sets until they get trapped under a net, all except for Dash, who gives chase and ends up getting locked in a utility closet, where she ends up finding one of the missing costumes. The rest of the girls escape from the netting, and luckily enough, Dash stepped in a puddle of pudding and left a trail for the girls to follow to the locked door, which Twilight uses her magic to unlock. Magical lockpicking is a really useful skill. By this point, Twilight says she has a pretty good idea of who the real culprit is, and has also deduced that they haven't yet had time to take the relics off the set yet, so they must still be hidden somewhere. And she ends up being right, as they use the director to set up Juniper Montage, who they catch red-handed taking the relics off set. Juniper's uncle forgives her, but he bans her from being on set and takes her ID badge and keys. Also, it turns out that Chestnut Magnifico was upset about being signed on for some boring nature documentary, and that's what she was yelling at her agent about, and is fully committed to Daring Do until the end. As thanks for saving the production, the director gives the girls bit parts in the movie. Honestly, this one was a really fun Scooby-Doo type episode. Nice chase scenes, nice premise, fun mystery, nice niche Power Ponies reference. But it really serves to tee up the finale of this trilogy, Mirror Magic. Juniper Montage is back with a vendetta as she blames the girls for her losing her job and her uncle demoting her to working at a local movie theater. But while on a lunch break, she finds a mirror that happens to get hit with equestrian magic that shows her reflection as a famous movie star. Ego much? Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just a mirror. We then see Sunset as she's writing a note to Princess Twilight in her journal, and in her inner monologue she expresses that she's worried because things have been pretty quiet on her side of the portal magic-wise, and it's making her worry. But as she finishes her message, she realizes she's run out of pages in her journal, but Princess Twilight writes back, actually asking for Sunset to come see her in person in Equestria. We then cut back to Juniper, where we see as she finds out that the mirror she has gained the ability to suck things up as she wishes them away. Okay, now that might be a bit of a problem. Meanwhile, Sunset takes a step through the portal and wow, you know, it has been so long since we've seen Sunset's pony form, but instead of being met with Princess Twilight, she's met with her student, Starlight Glimmer, who gives her a brand new journal courtesy of the princess. And you know what? It's kind of nice to see these two characters interact, considering this is the only time it ever happens. Like this one time. In the shows, anyway. After a brief conversation, Sunset turns to go back to her world, but Starlight starts asking questions and eventually asks if she can come back with Sunset, just for a little bit. And Sunset's reluctant, but, you know, she hasn't seen a version of Starlight over there, so yeah, it's probably fine, and the two head through the portal together. And now I can proudly say, Equestria Girl Starlight Glimmer is real, and she can hurt you. But I gotta say, she took this whole human thing way better than Twilight did in the first movie. But to be fair, Starlight does have Sunset here to help her kind of process it and keep her up to speed with how things are around here. We then cut to Juniper, who's trying to figure out how the mirror works, because it's not exactly clear. Magic is weird like that sometimes. But suddenly, the rest of the girls show up, causing Juniper to freak out and wish that they would go away, causing them to get sucked into the mirror. Okay, now it's definitely a problem. Anyway, Sunset is showing Starlight around the mall while her friends wake up in a void, utterly alone.
All alone.
Starlight and Sunset notice Juniper wearing Fluttershy's hair clip, and Sunset tells Starlight to wait while she goes and confronts Juniper, who then promptly sucks Sunset into the mirror, leaving Starlight on her own. With all 7 of the magical geodes in the mirror, it gets supercharged and turns Juniper Montage into a 7-foot-tall looks-maxing monster who sees everyone around her as either paparazzi or adoring fans. Starlight tries her best to get the mirror away from Juniper, but causes her to drop it, which causes it to start to crack, which also causes cracks to form in the void where the girls are. Starlight tries to reason with Juniper, but she's just not really having it, so Starlight just decides to play keep away with the mirror until she can figure how to get her friends out. But Starlight eventually manages to talk Juniper down with an appeal to reason that would bring a tear to Princess Twilight's eye. Juniper apologizes, and the girls tell her not to worry about it in like the funniest way possible.
Manipulated an entire town into giving up their talents so they wouldn't think they were special. Overpowered by magic I couldn't control and created a rift between 2 worlds, almost destroying both of them in the process.
Turned an entire school into my own personal zombie army in hopes of conquering a distant pony world.
Wow, we are a really forgiving group.
And before Starlight can head back to Equestria, Princess Twilight writes back saying that maybe it'd be a good idea for Starlight to stay just a little longer to learn how friendship works in that world. I'm gonna be honest, I really like this one. Seeing Starlight Glimmer in the Equestria Girls universe, even if it was just for like 15 minutes, was still awesome. Bringing Juniper Montage back as a vengeful villain from the previous episode works great for continuity, and the magic mirror works well enough as a way to get the girls out of the story, allowing for Starlight to save the day with the power of friendship. All in all, Tales of Canterlot High is a really fun continuation of the Equestria Girls storyline set up at the end of Legend of Everfree. From here, Equestria Girls would pretty much become a sort of internet-only show with, like, YouTube shorts, and not YouTube shorts as we know it now, but I mean like really short videos that were kind of like choose your own adventure things with like character A having a problem and then character like B, C, and D having different solutions, and then, you know, character A just kind of sits there like, as like, you know, annotations appear for the different endings, which is well and good. I'm not talking about those because there's like a shit ton of them, but you get the idea. And on top of these little short videos, there would also be a series of music videos, and some of them are really great. I recommend Run to Break Free. It's a great song that really serves Equestria Girls Rainbow Dash's characters. Yes, I'm biased. Out of these shorts would come 4 more specials that would be broken up into multiple parts on YouTube. They're each standalone specials this time, with their own self-encapsulated stories under the title of the Equestria Girls Better Together series, which is what I could find. I couldn't find anything official about it, but that's what the official YouTube channel calls it, so I guess that's what we'll go with. The first special being Forgotten Friendship, or at least that's one of its titles. It's also gone by the name of Most Likely to Be Forgotten and Sunset Saga, but the official YouTube upload that compiles all the parts into one video calls it Forgotten Friendship, so that's what we're going with. And hey, at least these ones have full-on openings. God, you can really tell the team behind these wanted to make an actual series, but Hasbro just said no. Anyway, Forgotten Friendship opens with Sunset Shimmer going around Canterlot High, taking various photos for the yearbook while singing a song. It's a really sweet song about friendship over the years and how it's gotten stronger, and it goes on until Sunset bumps into a random girl who turns out to be Wallflower Blush, who was there the whole time, even for the song. The girls win the best friend superlative, which, yeah, checks out. Their friendship has quite literally saved the world like multiple times in one year. The girls make plans to meet at the beach tomorrow to take their pictures for the yearbook for the best friend superlative and leave Wallflower Blush in the dark. Oh, I get it. Wallflower Blush, because she's a wallflower. She's there and no one remembers her or notices her. I see it, I get it. The next day, the girls meet at the beach to take their picture, and Sunset shows up, but the girls are for some reason wary of her? Almost like all of their good memories of Sunset have disappeared, and that's because they have. Sunset uses her powers to prove it. So, someone or something has erased Sunset's friends' memories of her, which prompts Sunset to open her journal and write to Princess Twilight asking if they're friends, to which Princess Twilight replies,
Of course we're friends.
So it's not affecting Equestria. A Sunset decides to go talk to Princess Twilight in person. Well, not person, they're ponies, but you know what I mean. And Princess Twilight doesn't really have any idea what could have caused her friend's memory loss, so she decides to take Sunset Shimmer to Canterlot to ask Princess Celestia. I just love that. It's like, yeah, I don't really know what's causing this. Let's go ask God. But honestly, I love this scene. Sunset and Celestia have such a nice, heartfelt reunion. Damn it, Equestria Girls, why do you gotta be good? Celestia states that she isn't really familiar with any kind of spell that could do that kind of memory erasing, but suggests that there might be something in the Canterlot archives. In the restricted section, the realization that there's a restricted section almost sends Twilight into cardiac arrest, which is just super in character and adorable for her. But unfortunately, the index machine is broken, which means Sunset and Twilight will have to look through every single scroll and book in the restricted section to hopefully find the answer to the problem, which Twilight is just thrilled about, because she's a book nerd. Eventually, Princess Twilight finds a scroll talking about the trials of Clover the Clever, in which Clover the Clever steals a memory stone which is capable of erasing memories from an evil sorceress and hides it in the human world. Only problem is, the scroll doesn't say where Clover hid it. So, Sunset goes back, now knowing what the memory stone looks like. It looks like a Sheikah stone, by the way. Just gonna put that out there. And goes to confront Trixie because she believes that Trixie found the stone and erased her friend's memories. In fact, it's not just her friend's memories now, it's the entire school's good memories of Sunset Shimmer that have been erased. But despite Trixie having a bone to pick with Sunset about not putting her in the yearbook as the greatest and most powerfulest superlative, Trixie has no idea what Sunset's talking about, so Sunset is back at square one. Honestly though, Trixie and Sunset have a bit of a heart-to-heart, and Trixie agrees to help Sunset find whoever erased everyone's memories in exchange for being put in the yearbook as the greatest and most powerfulest, of course. Meanwhile, back in Equestria, Twilight finds the missing part of the scroll, which shows that Clover the Clever buried the Memory Stone in the human world somewhere near Canterlot High School, and also states that if the Memory Stone isn't destroyed by sundown, the erased memories will be gone forever. Sunset and Trixie managed to narrow down the culprits all the way down to Wallflower Blush. Sunset also gets the message in her book about the Memory Stone's time limit, which only serves to add to crunch time. So they go to confront Wallflower Blush, where Sunset notices a picture of the rock formation where Clover the Clever buried the Memory Stone, and that picture was taken by Wallflower Blush. Sunset uses her powers on Wallflower Blush to see that she was there in the background the whole time through a bunch of big important stuff and no one ever remembers her, and that she found the Memory Stone and used it to erase everyone's good memories of Sunset because she wants Sunset to also know what it feels like to be forgotten. But you didn't erase everyone's memories of her, like all the memories of her. You just erased the good memories. They still know who she is, they just think she's the same arrogant person she was in the first movie. Wallflower admits to using the stone and starts singing a song called Invisible, which is honestly, it's a great song that gets interrupted when Wallflower notices Sunset digging through her bag looking for the stone. God, they're 2 for 2 with like interrupting these songs, which shows that these are actually just them singing. But Wallflower has the stone in her pocket and uses it to make Trixie and Sunset forget the confrontation ever happened and locks them in the yearbook room. But thankfully, Sunset was smart and used Twilight's drone, which was in the room, to record the confrontation so she remembers. And Trixie uses her sleight of hand magic and the old magician's exit to get Sunset out of the room so she can go confront Wallflower and hopefully destroy the stone before sundown, which is quickly approaching. Sunset catches up to Wallflower in the parking lot, where the other 6 girls also happen to be, and confronts her, in which Wallflower just explodes, saying that, you know what, she hates Sunset Shimmer, and hate is a very strong word, and decides to try to use this stone to erase her friends' memories of high school in its entirety. But Sunset jumps in front of the blast and loses all of her memories, and man, it's kind of a little sad. She thinks she's back in Canterlot and is asking for Princess Celestia. It's kind of sad. Seeing Sunset sacrifice, the girls realize that even though they don't remember her, only a real friend would sacrifice themselves like that. And they pony up and blast the Memory Stone, destroying it and releasing the forgotten memories, saving the day. You know, this special was actually a genuine treat. Seeing Sunset reconcile with Princess Celestia was actually like way better than I thought it would be, and the Memory Stone served as a well enough plot device to drive the plot forward and also put a time limit on things. Honestly, the biggest takeaway from this special is that I never knew that I needed to see Sunset Shimmer and Trixie Lulamoon together until this happened. I mean, their dynamic is kind of similar to Starlight and Trixie from the main show, but like, honestly, they have a good buddy cop dynamic, I gotta admit. And now look, I've seen entire video essays on why Wallflower Blush sucks as a villain, and I kind of agree. I mean, her motivations are kind of dumb and pointless, and it just doesn't really make sense. But other than that, she's a fine enough character to serve as an antagonist. Honestly, all in all, this was a very enjoyable watch. I can't believe these are free on YouTube. Now, let's move on to the next special, Rollercoaster of Friendship. Rollercoaster of Friendship opens with Applejack and Rarity applying for summer jobs at the new theme park, Equestria Land, which, I mean, what is that even? Is it an, like, horse theme park? Where everything is, like, equine themed? They both applied to be Caramel Apple Girls, but in a stroke of luck, Rarity ends up getting hired as the lead costume designer for the opening parade. But unfortunately, Applejack doesn't get hired as a Caramel Apple Girl, or at all for that matter. So out of principle, Rarity says she's going to turn down the job, but Applejack tells her, no, this is your dream, go ahead and do it, which is what good friends do. So Rarity accepts the job and starts working under Vignette Valencia, who has 3 million followers on Snapgap. Yes, how do you do, fellow kids? We are hip, and with it Well, opening day rolls around and Rarity gives her friends VIP passes to come check out the park. Yeah, and almost immediately Applejack does not vibe with Vignette at all, probably because she notices her girlfriend has a crush on her. I can say that because Rarajack is canon. One of the writers confirmed it. Rarajack is a thing in the Equestria Girls universe. But on the bright side, Vignette does book the Rainbooms to perform at the opening parade, so this could be their big break. The girls split off into pairs to go explore the park before the big performance, but unfortunately Rarity doesn't have time for Applejack because she's too busy, much to Applejack's dismay, but she doesn't voice her concerns to Rarity because she doesn't want to rain on her parade and ruin her dream. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that in the opening of the special, which I didn't show, Vignette's phone got hit by some equestrian magic, giving her the ability to customize things. And she uses her phone to suck Fluttershy into a magical void. You know, if I had a nickel for every time one of these girls got sucked into a magical void, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. Meanwhile, Sunset and Twilight are trying to beat the Flim Flam Brothers' rigged carnival game Ring Toss with the power of science. And it's honestly just a really funny B-plot. Applejack is walking around the park looking for Fluttershy because no one's seen her since she wandered off with Vignette, but nobody really seems that concerned that she's missing, except for Applejack. Applejack manages to gain access to the security room thanks to a fake badge given to her by Pinkie Pie, and sees Rainbow Dash get sucked into Vignette's phone on the cameras. Meanwhile, Rarity is super stressed since they're running behind schedule, and they're just hours away from the opening parade, and Vignette gives her the order to start everything from scratch again. Jeez, I would lose my marbles if she were my supervisor. AJ tries to warn the others about Vignette, but she actually swapped out her phone beforehand, so Applejack just kind of looks like an idiot and Rarity is left with egg on her face. Which then leads to Rarity and Applejack having a heated argument that ends in hurt feelings. Meanwhile, Vignette is trying to hijack the Rainbooms by telling them how to dress and what to play and what characters to play, and when they decline to do any of that, she just sucks them into her phone so she can customize them. Rarity finally confronts Vignette, who admits to everything and tries to zap Rarity with her phone, but Rarity deflects it using her magic. Rarity quickly runs off and finds Applejack, where they make amends. You see, kids, the key to a healthy relationship is communication. The Twilight uses her technical know-how while they're in the tech void to hack Vignette's phone and call Applejack to give her a plan to get them out. But it turns out that the phone doesn't actually suck you in, it just teleports you to a random location in the park, which just so happens to be a white room, with the door unlocked. But the girls realize that if for whatever reason, if Vignette gets fed up with the crowd reaction at the parade, she might try to use the phone on them, and if that many people get teleported into this small of a room, it's gonna cause some problems. We then cut to the parade, and all right, listen, look, I'm a very normal, well-adjusted person, but like, goth Fluttershy, just, I'm normal, I promise. As expected, the crowd gets fed up with Vignette singing, and she's about to take a picture of them to teleport them away when the girls show up and save the day. They pony up and zap Vignette's phone, destroying it and releasing the magic. Saving the day yet again. The girls sing a song, and look, honestly, I don't really ship characters like that, but you can't tell me Rarajack isn't a thing here, okay? Rarajack is real. Come on, they're giving each other such loving looks, like, okay, maybe I'm reading into it too much. You tell me. Let's just move on to the next special, and my personal favorite, Spring Breakdown. Well, it's spring break, and the girls are on board a yacht trip organized by Twilight. Everyone is having a great time, except for Applejack, who is horribly seasick. And Rainbow Dash, who is hoping that some equestrian magic will rear its ugly head so she can see some action. Seriously, she's so obsessed with fighting any kind of evil magic that she ends up ruining the vacation for everyone else. I mean, it gets to the point where Sunset finally snaps and lays in the Dash, telling her to stop looking for problems where there are none, and that she's ruining the vacation for everyone. Later in the day, the Rainbooms play a concert and pony up to give a sick laser rainbow light show, but then all the lights on the ship blow out and the ship's engine starts to fail. Twilight goes off to try to fix the engine while Dash goes off to try to look for the equestrian magic that she thinks is at play. A nasty storm is brewing over the ship and Dash swears that she almost sees some sort of mysterious symbol in the water. I'm sure it's nothing. Dash uses her speed to quickly gather up the girls, well, more like kidnap really, and try to show them the symbol, but in typical cartoon fashion, by the time she gets them all there, the symbol is gone. Okay, here's something I don't understand. They have cell phones here. Why didn't Dash just snap a picture of it? I know the answer is because the plot. She's being written stupid for the sake of the plot, but my point still stands. Nobody believes Rainbow Dash, of course, which prompts her to take off in one of the ship's lifeboats to search for the source of the magic that she knows is out there. Twilight begins to feel guilty about how she treated Rainbow Dash, so she and Sunset go looking for Dash and find the missing lifeboat, so they take another lifeboat and go off looking for her, which brings them to a deserted island where they find the other lifeboat and a very talkative parrot that sounds familiar.
Well, my name isn't Rainbow Dash.
They find Rainbow Dash, who's stuck in quicksand that also just so happens to be guarded by a giant magical carnivorous plant. Twilight uses her magic to hold back the carnivorous plant while Sunset tries desperately to get Dash out of the quicksand, but before she can, the plant breaks free of Twilight's magic, so Sunset just does something drastic.
See you soon! I'll explain later. 1, 2, 3!
Turns out the quicksand was actually just another portal to Equestria. What are the odds? Twilight freaks out upon seeing that she's been transformed into a pony, which gives me a bit of deja vu, but the girls decide that maybe this could be their vacation instead. But meanwhile, back in the human world on the ship, the storm that's brewing is getting even worse. Sunset manages to sneak both Dash and Twilight through Ponyville. Man, seeing another version of yourself has gotta be pretty surreal. And they make it to Princess Twilight's castle. Applejack manages to reconnect the engines back in the human world, and the ship takes off out of control and gets struck by a bolt of lightning that just so happens to knock out the ship's steering. But wait, there's more. While it's running out of control, the ship hits a rock and starts taking on water. Oh, this is just going great. Yeah, anyway, back in Equestria, Princess Twilight is regaling the girls with some of her and her friends' feats of heroism, like, remember the movie? Remember the movie? Please watch the movie. We'll get to the movie eventually, don't you worry, I have plans for that. So it turns out that some of the Storm King's magic escaped to the human realm, where it's causing the giant thunderstorm that's brewing that also just so happens to take out all the lifeboats. That is a very precise thunderstorm. Thankfully, the three girls managed to show up just in time with the Storm King staff to absorb the magic and dissolve the dangerous thunderstorm. But yeah, there's still the problem of the ship sinking. So Rainbow Dash uses her super speed to get the girls back to the ship, where they all use their powers to help evacuate all of the passengers and crew, using Rarity's magic to make lifeboats to get to the nearby island. Now, one question still remains. Without the boat, how are they going to get home?
A little more on the left. A little more. Perfect.
Phew! We're back!
Hopefully you can see why this is my favorite of the specials. I mean, anytime we get to go see Equestria is always fun, and Twilight and Rainbow Dash being there makes it about 20% cooler. I'm sorry. I had to. Also, I think it's really cool, a nice way to acknowledge the events of My Little Pony the movie by having the Storm King's magic be the cause of the storm running amok in the human world. It's just a nice little bit of continuity, you know? Plus, that ending scene on its own is more than enough to put this at the top of my list. So, now we move on to the final Equestria Girls Special. I mean, technically there's Holidays Unwrapped, but that's just a bunch of shorts that are holiday themed that are stitched together into one like 40-minute video. It's not really a special. But we move on to the final special, Sunset's Backstage Pass. Sunset's Backstage Pass opens with the girls being camped out for the Star Swirl Music Festival, so they can hang out and so Pinky and Sunset can see their favorite duo, Post Crush, who's coming back from an indefinite hiatus. But just about anything that can go wrong does, as Sunset gets whacked in the butt by Rainbow Dash, steps in mud, gets stuck in a long line, gets dragged off by Pinkie Pie's antics into a maze that ends up with them getting bombarded by paint. Finally, Pinkie drags Sunset away for churros and causes so much chaos that they end up getting kicked out of the festival before Post Crush even goes on. Which is the whole reason they were there in the first place. Well, at the end of the night when she's alone overlooking the festival, Sunset looks up to the stars and wishes she could have a do-over, and yeah, you can see where this is going. It's Groundhog Day. It's your basic time loop story. She wakes up the next morning, quote unquote, and everything just about plays out the same and gives her the oddest sense of deja vu. But the next time around, Sunset goes off on her own, completely ditching and avoiding Pinkie Pie, and actually manages to snag a front row seat to see Post Crush, and everything pretty much goes off without a hitch, except for Pinkie going just the slightest bit Pinkamena when she figures out that Sunset ditched her and avoided her the whole day. But hey, it was worth it, right? Post Crush. Unfortunately, the loop doesn't stop after Sunset manages to see Post Crush. In fact, it keeps going so many times to the point where Sunset can quote and predict pretty much everything that's going to happen throughout the day. Yeah, it's, again, Bill Murray from Groundhog Day. It's Groundhog Day. While Sunset figures that the time loop must be tied to the campground somehow, so she attempts to hijack their camper and drive off in the middle of the night, but it breaks down and they're stuck, so she tries to tell her friends about the time loop, but again, they forget every time it loops. Eventually, Sunset tries to message Princess Twilight, who after a few more loops manages to finally message her back, and it turns out that another lost equestrian artifact must be at play here, the Time Twirler. And the interesting thing about it is it's a manually activated artifact, which means someone has most likely found it and is using it to loop the day over and over again. And you'll never guess who the writers throw in as a red herring here. That's right, the Dazzlings are back, and potentially behind the time loop, but in order to find out, the girls are going to have to make their way backstage to stake out their van, which they manage to do next time around since Sunset bribes the guard with a kitten. Sunset goes in to search the Dazzlings' van, leaving Pinkie Pie on guard to look for the Time Twirler, but Pinkie ends up getting lured away by those damn churros again, and Sunset ends up getting caught by the Dazzlings. Turns out, the Dazzlings aren't behind the time loop, and Sunset kind of gets angry and goes off on Pinkie Pie, causing her to cry. Riddled with guilt the next time around, Sunset decides to just go with whatever Pinkie Pie wants to do. All the crazy things. The maze, the paint, the tandem bike, the churros. But surprisingly, everything seems to work out with the churros since they get told to deliver churros to Post Crush backstage. So, Chekhov's churro? Paying off? Fancy that. If Sunset just embraced the chaos of her and Pinkie Pie's friendship, all of this might have happened the first time around. It's almost like that's the moral of the story or something. Sunset uses her powers on Post Crush, and wouldn't you know who won the pony? Turns out Post Crush found the Time Twirler in a nearby stream and have been using it to loop the day over and over again until they get the absolute perfect performance. Well, Post Crush threatens to not only keep the time loop going, but to have Pinkie and Sunset banned from Star Swirl for life, so that means tonight is the last chance to break the time loop. But thankfully the security guard lets them back in, as thanks for Sunset understanding that security is an art form. The duo confronts Post Crush yet again, and Chekhov's churro comes into play one more time. The ensuing fight spills out onto the stage, and Sunset manages to get a hold of the Time Twirler and step on it, destroying it and breaking the time loop once and for all. After giving a quick pep talk to their idols, the Pinkie and Sunset are rewarded by getting to play on stage with their idols Post Crush to an awesome song called True Original. Honestly, I do like this song. I don't think Equestria Girls really missed with any of the songs. So the time loop is broken, the day is saved, and Pinkie and Sunset got to play on stage with their idols. Seems like a win-win. This one was a bit cliche, but fun nonetheless. I mean, what can I say? I'm a sucker for some good old timey-wimey stuff. Pinkie and Sunset's dynamic in this is chaos and order mixing together harmoniously to make for some amazing and funny moments. But by far, the highlight of the special was finding out that the Dazzlings are back and still performing thanks to the magic of vocal processing. Equestria Girls is one of those weird pop culture phenomenons you just kind of had to be there for in the 2010s, and it wouldn't really have existed if it weren't for two factors. One, Friendship is Magic's explosion in popularity, and 2, the passionate bronies who pushed for it to exist in the first place. Seriously, I don't think anything like this will ever happen ever again with the My Little Pony brand, because it was a huge risk. A risk that paid off, but a huge risk nonetheless. It's kind of crazy how it went from a weird spin-off movie made just to sell toys to a full-fledged spin-off series with its own original characters and world building. And hell, even to this day, depending on who you ask, some people might actually still prefer these versions of the main 6 over the ones from Friendship is Magic. Hell, it was so popular that the music videos and shorts kept coming out all the way until G4 ended in 2019. So it obviously had passionate fans. I mean, honestly, after all this, I'm left with one question. When's G5 Equestria Girls, Hashbro? I'm waiting.